Throughout the years, railway enthusiasts have always paid close attention to the working lives of locomotives. Not all of these engines were spared the cutter's torch, but enough is usually recorded about them that people can put together the engine's whole life story and its place in the complex and diverse world of railway history. One-of-a-kind locomotives naturally had more attention on them because of their unique designs, be they experimental or specially made for a specific job, and so naturally their lives and fate tend to be more well documented. You'd think then that when the Netherlands built a Garratt engine, not only unique to the rest of the country, but unique compared to all other Garratts before and after it, that it would be impossible for such a machine to simply vanish without a trace. And yet, vanish it did. In 1920, work began constructing a tramway between Maastricht and Vals in Limburg. The route had originally been proposed as early as 1882, but arguments over how to actually build the line caused a considerable delay. Instead of meter gauge, standard gauge rails were chosen, and despite its benefits, electric traction was disregarded in favour of steam power. By 1922, the first part of the line was opened, and by 1925 the line was completed. Locomotives built by Hanomag based on designs by Daniel Verhoop were the primary source of motive power on the tramway. With S-bends as tight as 115 metres and grades of up to 20% for over a kilometre, however, the 040s, despite their impressive performance, were found to struggle with heavier loads, resulting in some trains being double-headed. Naturally, more powerful locomotives were desired, but the tight bends and limited weight capacity of the tracks made designing a more powerful locomotive much harder. After weighing up their options, the Limburg Tramway Company found the solution to their problem: a Garratt engine. Not only were these engines more powerful, but flexible too, meaning they were more than equipped to deal with the tight bends and steep grades. On top of that, the boiler could be made shorter and wider to help prevent the crown sheet in the firebox becoming exposed when climbing hills. The bogies provided terrific weight distribution, and all parts of the locomotive were easily accessible for maintenance. Convinced, the Limburg Tramway Company ordered a Garratt from Hanomag. To make the Garratt compatible with the rest of the tram engines, many similar parts were used. The bogie frames were almost the exact same as the frames on engines 21 to 35, with the same 900mm driving wheels, 360 by 360mm cylinders, and Verhoop valve gear. An extra set of wheels was added to each bogie, giving them an 060 configuration instead of the typical 040 the trams had. But what made this Garratt stand out from the rest, however, was the way it was configured. The cylinders and valve gear were positioned inside the frames, not only to protect pedestrians and prevent debris from getting into the motion, but also to allow the engine to travel at higher speeds. To give the driver better visibility, the water tanks were set below the footplate on the outside of the frames, which had the added benefits of keeping the centre of gravity low and providing better weight distribution across the axles. On top of that, a door was fitted between the two rear coal bunkers, making the running boards easily accessible. Since the valve gear and cylinders were on the inside, this being the only Garratt in the world to ever have inside cylinders, hatches were installed on the footplates, allowing crews to access the motion for maintenance. The engine was also equipped with 4 different brakes, and its reversing gear was controlled with a servo motor. The final result was an 060 plus 060, measuring in at 18.9 meters long and weighing 71.5 tons, with a top speed of 50 kilometers an hour. During construction, Hanomag ceased locomotive production, and the engine had to be completed by Henschel, making it the last engine Hanomag ever made. Delivered to the Limburg Tramway Company in 1931, the engine was given the number 51 and tested on the Maastricht-Vals line, where it performed quite well. Not only could it run quite smoothly at speeds over 40 km an hour, but was found to consume 39% less coal on average than the 040s it replaced. It said the engine fulfilled all requirements, ran quietly, was easy to operate, steamed well, and provided the driver with a more than sufficient view. That, however, is all the praise the engine got. Not because it was bad, But because that's about where most records of 51's life end, there are simply no more notes other than it was a good performer. One reason for this is likely because of the state of the tramway itself. The Maastricht-Vaals line never made a profit the entire time it operated. Its late construction meant most passenger traffic was already taken by buses, and being built to standard gauge meant its rails weren't compatible with the meter gauge rolling stock used by the rest of the LTM. The line was only running 2 passenger trains a day by the time 51 was introduced, and the economic turmoil of the 1930s only made things worse. With the tramway in decline, it's safe to assume that 51 never really had the chance to show its stuff, and any records that were made on its performance, good or bad, were likely thrown out when the line finally went under. The line was closed in 1938 with all of its rolling stock being sold off for scrap, including 51. The Garratt ended up at Dotremont scrapyard, but here's where things get foggy. It was purchased in 1940 for use in The Hague before being sold again for use in Germany in 1941. After that, the paper trail goes cold. 51 simply vanished off the face of the earth for the next decade. Where it went, what it did, who operated it, it's simply unknown. The only record of it turning up again is when it was scrapped near Köln in 1950. If I were to make a guess as to what happened, I would say that it was used for pulling goods on lighter railways in West Germany, but given some of the relatively complex features of its design combined with the war going on, it would have been hard to maintain. Again, that's just a guess. What really happened, we'll never know. Despite not only being a unique locomotive, but an incredibly great performing one too, it's surprising that it managed to simply fall off the face of the earth. Was it as great as the early reports made it out to be? Who knows? The fact that it was scrapped after just 19 years of use doesn't show much promise. But between the bankruptcy of the tramway and its undocumented life, we unfortunately never got the chance to properly find its limits. It's a shame. Not only was it the only Garratt in the Netherlands, but it was also the only Garratt of its kind, having inside cylinders and outside under-footplate water tanks. I suppose the moral, if there is any, is to cherish what's unique while you have it, as no matter how big or unusual it is, there's always a chance it'll up and vanish without a trace. Subscribe for more.